During a snippet of a dialogue with Mr. Nolan Silverman, one of the co-producers of Drumebox, he mentioned this sort of misapprehension about myself in the LA community. Hence, I found it imperative, if not paramount, to deviate or deviate from what I deemed initially to be my subservient objective to lecture on my algorithm, to get into something that has a little more practical implication and application, and that is neurotypicals or normal individuals' misconceptions, misperception, or misapprehension of individuals who fall outside the spectrum of what is perceived as normal. So today's lecture will be centered around mental disorder. Our primary focus is bipolar, and we're going to take a cross-disciplinary, a multidisciplinary, a transdisciplinary, and an interdisciplinary approach to mental disorder. So we are approaching mental disorder or mental diseases or spectrum or chronic disorder from quite a peculiar perspective. We're taking a transdisciplinary approach. Transdisciplinary is basically when mutually exclusive disciplines converge, right, to formulate a new conceptual idea, right? Multidisciplinary is when mutually exclusive disciplines converge. Cross-disciplinary studies is when you take an explanatory position of one discipline within the context of another. So we are approaching mental disorder from a cross-disciplinary, a multidisciplinary, and a transdisciplinary, and also an interdisciplinary perspective, which interdisciplinary falls within the category of where mutually exclusive disciplines sort of permeate each other to formulate new ideas.
Basically, all that means is taking multiple disciplines into consideration. It may be a situation where mutually exclusive disciplines converge, or where disciplines overlap on a deep level. Like you might find certain areas interdisciplinary where physics meets linguistics when it comes to areas of language and speech and tonality. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know where to start. What do you think about subliminal messages in entertainment media?
Oh wow, that's a that's a big subject. I mean, subliminal influences or subliminal messages, information that bypasses below the psychological threshold of conscious perception. So you have the conscious mind, you have the subconscious, and you have the preconscious or universal unconsciousness. Now, this area below the conscious mind is where we get into areas like psychodynamics, which is sort of like the interrelationship or the interrelation between the conscious, the unconscious, emotions, personality, and motivation, goals, and drive. But subliminals in and of itself, you have subliminal, you have supraliminal, you have hyperliminal, you have hypnosis, and you have neuro-linguistic programming,
sure,
NLP, and you have cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which is like a subset or a branch of NLP, equivalent to psychoanalytics being a branch or a subset of psychodynamics. So I could break them down if you like. So subliminal, subliminal is basically information that bypasses below the psychological threshold of conscious perception.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Truth Noir. We have a very special guest tonight. I've seen him speak a couple times, and he's extremely knowledgeable about a great number of topics. And he's here to share some of that information with you. Most of it I've never heard before. Like, I always learn a lot when he's on. And so I'd like to welcome him to the show. This is Atelston Fitzgerald, holder the first. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
So I've heard you speak about spectrum disorders like autism, global consciousness, computer technology, like just all over the place. And so what is it that you'd like to speak to us about tonight?
Today, probably an extension. I did a 1-hour lecture on Drumebox previously taking a cross-disciplinary, a multidisciplinary, a transdisciplinary, and also an interdisciplinary approach to mental disorder, where I approach mental. You have hyperliminal, you have hypnosis, and you have neuro-linguistic programming.
Sure.
NLP. And you have cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which is like a subset or a branch of NLP, equivalent to psychoanalytics being a branch or a subset of psychodynamics. So I could break them down if you like. So subliminal, subliminal is basically information that bypasses below the psychological threshold of conscious perception. Supraliminal is information that bypasses above the physiological threshold of conscious perception. Hyperliminal is a mixture of both, information that bypasses below the psychological threshold and above the physiological threshold. And then we have hypnosis. Hypnosis is basically, our brain oscillates in different brain waves. You have the alpha, beta, delta, and theta. Hypnosis is basically when the brain transitions from the alpha or the beta to the theta or the deep delta state, where all actions become involuntary, making the subject susceptible to outside influence.
Yeah, suggestion and all of that.
Suggestion, right. And then neuro-linguistic programming, often used interchangeably with natural language processing, because they both consist of the same abbreviation, NLP. Mm-hmm. But natural language processing is like a multidisciplinary discipline. It's a correlation between computer language and linguistic models. Now, neuro-linguistic programming basically is a correlation between neurological processes, linguistic models, behavioral patterns, and the human experience. So what do they all share in common? They are all capable, they're all a form of subliminal influence. Now, subliminal in and of itself is information that bypasses below the psychological threshold.
How this manifests in so many kids these days? Because it seems like statistically the numbers have been going up.
Mm-hmm. I would probably use the X-Men analogy, where it's quite conspicuous that there's some sort of biological evolution occurring with the X-Men. And no two gifts are identical, but it's clearly the X-Men. So from that perspective, what you find with not just neurotypicals, but atypicals. Now, I'm not an expert in this area because my views are based from a self-referential, which is sort of subjective, and empirical analysis only, which is based on a sort of intersubjectivity or the collective view of others who've had the same experience as well. And what I've observed is no two atypicals, even if you look at it from a parapsychological approach or psychopathology, no two of the same bipolar or mania share the exact same phenomena. So there's a number of different variances. So someone who's going through manic episode and grandiosity, they might have a sort of elated impulsivity. Someone else, promiscuity might ascend off the roof. Someone else might experience a high level of grandiosity, right, which is the augmentation of one's ambition. So it's hard to put it into perspective in terms of what are the commonalities they share. But what you do find is they share a commonality across the board in terms of their emotional attributes, in terms of impulsivity, disinhibition, grandiosity, pathological compulsion, and promiscuity.
Empathy a lot of times too, right?
Yeah, empathy of course. And empathy is one of those things I spend like a level.
And also linguistics.
Yeah, linguistics.
Do you speak a lot of different languages?
Not psycho and sociolinguistics, but more like the subsets, the different branches, and primarily the role it plays in humor. So linguistics has different branches outside being bilingual and trilingual and the study of different languages. So.
And musicology.
Yeah.
You do acoustic guitar playing.
Yeah, well, I write, compose, arrange, transpose, I have a fundamental understanding of how music works.
And you lecture on all these subjects?
Yeah, because all of these fields intertwine at some given point. If you get into music, you're going to encounter phonology, which is a branch of linguistics that studies sound, and music is sound. And if you study in what is sound, if an A chord is 440 hertz, and you double 440 hertz is basically cycles per second, so number of wave vibration. So we've just transcended beyond music into physics. So they overlap at some given point in different areas.
Okay. But you're maybe more known, so you do all this, but you also have a YouTube channel called Mr. Pregnant.
Yeah.
Where you like sing and dance with your shirt off?
Yeah, Mr. Pregnant is a metaphor for full of it. It's kind of Mr. Pregnant was primarily created to materialize the abstract concepts I had. So I wanted to give a visual. If I wanted to illustrate visuals, I'd
Go walk. Do a lot of putting thoughts and idea into perspective. Self-reflection.
Okay, this is a good time of year for that.
And this is my fourth time or third time on the show? Well, technically fourth time on Drumebox.
Well,
Thank you to the co-founder, Mr. Nolan Silverman.
Silverstein.
My apology. Also Adam for booking me again for the third time. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for
very
having me.
persistent.
Huh?
Very persistent. I knew that we had a cancellation last minute, and before I'd even finished asking you, you would agree to be on the show.
Absolutely.
So you're a dependable guest.
Thank you.
I admire that about you.
For my beautiful
What is it about this program that you like so much, appearing on Drumebox and things like that?
Your particular show, or There's a Place, or Drumebox?
Well,
as a
yeah,
whole?
there's a place. We'll keep it local.
Drumebox is sort of this platform that kind of embodies entertainers' deep-seated imagination. Whatever you can encapsulate or explicate in your mind, Drumebox sort of facilitate that. I mean, I walked in here to do my 1-hour lecture on mental disorder, or neurotypical misconception of everyone who falls outside the neurotypical spectrum. And I assumed I would have to work with a green screen. When I walked in, I had a TED Talk platform. So Nolan facilitated that. So this place is sort of ambiguous. It's nothing, but it's everything. It sort of becomes whatever is required at that spur at the moment. So yeah, Drumebox is absolutely my favorite place to kind of elaborate what's ever on my mind at that given point. So Drumebox is the place, absolutely, no exceptions.
What is it about Drumebox? Because you did videos on YouTube and stuff. You got a camera phone, obviously. You could just take it straight to the people. But why, is there something?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Atelston, Fitzgerald, the first. Yeah.
And the last.
Yeah, and the last. Well, you have not seen the last of me.
No.
Look how sweet I look. Mwah, I kiss myself. How do I send a kiss and look at myself simultaneously? Concurrent kiss. At my son. Where the bitch is at? Whew.
Oh, I don't know. It's kind of late.
Okay, so let's talk about epistemology, existentialism, ontology, metaphysics, bitches and hoes.
Okay. Maybe we'll start with the bitches and hoes.
Yeah, I
and
like the bitches and
work our way.
hoes.
Do you like hoes?
Yeah, I like hoes. Because I grew up in agriculture. So we had a lot of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad was he was obsessed with tools.
Yeah. And your mother was a veterinarian, so you got to learn about bitches.
Yeah. Ha ha,
You get
you're
it?
killing it, he's killing it.
Oh no. So you were very, and I got to commend you on this, and actually, maybe even thank you for this.
Mm-hmm.
You were very insistent about coming on the show again.
Oh, absolutely. I find,
May I ask why?
for a number of different reasons, it's going to inflate your ego, regardless, I'm going to inflate it anyway. So I find it intriguing, it's a beautiful platform. Probably one of the best studio, if not the best studio experience I've ever had. And I felt like this is the perfect environment to sort of encapsulate and put into perspective a number of different ideas I wanted to put out there. So yes, your medium was the epitome of what I idealize. Sometimes you have a vision. It's like a director have an audition. He knows what he wants, but he can't put it into perspective.
He needs
has-
other people.
Right, it has to illuminate in the actor's personality or persona. I feel what you do sort of exemplifies that. So now you can take your inflated ego and just ascend into the heavens.
So your vision is my reality?
Here we go. Me and my big mouth.
Wow.
The narcissist has taken over the floor. But you know what I mean. I like
I know. Well, thank you. Well, thanks for coming by. I know we had